get ready to rumble.
Okay then. Well, ladies and gentlemen, with those wonderful intros,
No, you gotta keep that.
now we have to keep that, yeah. Welcome to another episode of WXR. Now, for the record here, because this will be going up later in the week, but we are recording this the night, at least from my time over here, Eastern Time in the U.S., the night of December 15th, Sunday, the night of TLC pay-per-view, although it's technically after midnight, so it's now Monday, but you get what I mean. And so...
Yeah, after TLC, but before Raw.
Correct, after TLC, but before Raw. So, for our topic this week, we decided to, in a rather timely, given the events of TLC, we decided we were going to discuss title unifications. Joining me for this podcast are Chriz the Mole.
Bonjour.
And Marcus Shadow.
Let's go, Orton. Cena sucks.
Evidently. Couple of notes for the record. Number one, I did not see the pay-per-view. I was working late, so I missed. By the time I got home, the pay-per-view was over. So any events of what happened in the pay-per-view will be recanted by these two fine gentlemen. And
it happened.
Pretty much.
Also, as our viewers may have noticed by now, we are hammerless because he could not make it. So it's just going to be the three of us. Enjoy.
Yes,
Hi, Hammy.
Yes, hi, Hammy. Sadly, there will be no Rick to Hammer this podcast, or for next week's. However, next week we have a special guest filling it, and stay tuned to find out who.
Yeah, because Hammer is currently busy filming The Avengers 2 as Thor's hammer.
That'd be awesome.
Pretty much. So, with that, yes, title unifications. For those of you who might have been living under a rock for the last month or two, at the TLC pay-per-view, there was a ladder match main event in which the World Heavyweight Champion John Cena...
TLC.
Wait, what?
It was a TLC match.
No, it was a ladder match, actually. They
It
advertised
involved tables and chairs.
It
was a TLC match.
It was? Okay, they advertised it as a ladder match at first, but alright, fair enough. So there was a TLC match in which World Heavyweight Champion John Cena defended that title against WWE Champion Randy Orton, who was also defending his title. Both belts were hung above the ring. And when all was said and done, spoiler alert, Randy Orton is your new unified, undisputed, whatever the fuck they're calling it, champion.
I would also like to point out
World Heavyweight Champion.
Okay.
Yes. I would also like to point out it was a TLC match because both men went out of their way to hit each other with chairs, put each other through multiple tables, and hit each other with ladders and crap. So
it was either a ladder match that involved tables and chairs, but fuck it, that makes it a TLC in my book.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So it was a glorified TLC match. Fair enough.
Let's put it to you this way: Orton went through 3 tables
Simultaneously?
No, one after
then
the
got up
other.
and did a finger wag.
Ah.
That would have been awesome, but no.
Yes. Oh, the finger wag. Anyway, so we're going to talk about unifications of titles. It's happened many, many times in the history of wrestling, and even just in the history of the WWE itself. So we're here to look at these title unifications. Good thing, bad thing, repercussions. What do we think of this whole situation? Now, I've personally been advocating for the unification of the World Heavyweight and WWE Championships for years now, because it's been painfully obvious to me that the World Heavyweight title was absolutely useless.
Except for being on the better show.
Except for being on the better show, yes.
And being the better looking title.
I don't know, that new, better than the spinner, yes. Better than that new WWE title, I don't know, it's a pretty nice title.
Yes. The World Heavyweight title, for the record, is my favorite looking World Heavyweight Championship belt.
Fair enough.
I liked the World Heavyweight title, but I also really did like the WWE title.
Yeah.
The new one, not the spinner crap.
Yeah, no. Personally, I think the Eagle belt's the best one, but anyway, moving on.
Personally, I think the Smoke and Skull belt's the best one.
That one's a badass belt, too. I like that belt. I was surprised you didn't go with the Brahma Bull belt.
Personally, I thought the Rated R spinner belt was the best. No. It was the same thing with a sticker.
The Brahma Bull belt didn't smoke. Austin's belt actually smoked when he debuted it.
My favorite would be the WCW World Heavyweight title with NWO spray painted on it.
That was pretty badass.
Isn't that title effectively the World Heavyweight title belt is?
No, the back of it's different. The back of it's like shitty little design. I don't like the back.
Yeah, but the plate is the same plate, isn't it?
It is, but at the back, no.
Understood.
Okay, moving on. So, yes, obviously title unifications are a very big deal when they do occur for whatever reason. In this case, I feel it was kind of necessary, if only because it's been painfully obvious for a very long time that the WWE writing team does not possess the, shall we say, intellectual capability to book multiple main event feuds simultaneously and make them good. They can barely make one good. So, I think it's best to do this because it will have a couple of effects. Number one, or hopeful effects. Number one, obviously, there will now be a smaller, more competition for the main title. There'll be more guys vying for it. There'll be more variety in, who's the world champion. Number two, because they'll now need to have these secondary guys feuding over something, it will hopefully, if guys like Daniel Bryan and CM Punk and Damian Santos start feuding over it, bring a lot more relevance back to the Intercontinental Championship. So, they could go with the U.S. title, but I feel like being into WWE and Vince, he's more likely to go with the Intercontinental title.
And, however, it should be also be worth out there's probably some repercussions to this too.
Well, obviously, yes. I'm just going with positives for the moment. We're going to go to that.
I would also like to point out that the Intercontinental Championship had relevance brought back to it when they put it on Cody Rhodes, and then they fucked up and took it off him.
Yeah, well. They needed to bring relevance back to the tag titles.
Apparently. No, they need to bring relevance back to Triple H. No, literally, that's probably the reason they took it off Cody and did what they did with Cody, because they needed to establish Triple H so they could do all this crap.
Pretty much. Anywho, so effectively, some potential positives there. Also, some potential negatives. Obviously, with only one world title, not as many guys are going to get a shot, so a lot of guys might potentially get shafted. Things like that. What do you guys think? Positives and negatives of this unification? Good thing, bad thing?
The negatives I can see is one, less people will get the WWE title, only because they should, in my opinion, because not everyone's going to be able to handle the extra workload of appearing on 2 shows every week. Because it's like back when they had separate titles, the reason Eddie Guerrero stopped being champion is because Eddie Guerrero himself said he couldn't handle the main event spotlight being on him, and that was just one show, which means not everyone will be able to handle it. So you got that, which means that could be a negative. Another one is house shows are going to be affected by this, because when you have the house shows that are just Raw and the house shows that are just SmackDown, one of those, probably the SmackDown one, will get screwed. Won't have the WWE will not have the champion on it, because sometimes, like when they're over here, one will be down in London, one will be up in Manchester at the same time. Or like a day apart, which means either A, they're going to have to travel and work every single day, or B, one of the house shows is not going to have the champion, which is kind of a shame. That's the negative I could see anyway.
Well, the other negative is that, especially at this point in time, because they've had dual champions for so long, they've built up a lot of guys to basically be main eventers. They have a lot of main eventers now. Now that they've shrunk it down to one title, they're going to have a lot of main eventers with nothing to do with them, and that could potentially hurt a lot of the talent.
But the thing is, sorry, go ahead.
Because they could take some of the main eventers, true, and say, move them down to Intercontinental to, quote, make the Intercontinental title, more relevant, unquote, or a U.S. title, but then you're shafting your mid-card, because all of a sudden it's like, okay, the mid-card has to leave to make way for all these main eventers that have nothing to do. It's just, with going one title, to me, it's a negative is that they're going to have a lot of talent with nothing to do because they have less titles to go around.
Yep.
And
that was one of the reasons for the brand split, which we'll go into when we do the brand split discussion, which will be coming out eventually. They did it so that they could establish new talent on both shows and build them both up, because that way you could tune into just Raw or just SmackDown or both, and you could see new talent rise up, which that's kind of cool.
The other thing I also have to kind of question with this unification is the fact that didn't they just recently give NXT its own set of titles because it's its own show?
They did.
Yet now they're basically taking Raw and SmackDown, and they're saying, yeah, you guys, you get the same titles. It's like, but you have 2 shows and you have 2 full rosters full of superstars. You're going to screw one of the shows in the end of this.
Yeah, but NXT was given its own titles because, for all intents and purposes, technically NXT's almost non-canon. It's the
True.
development. It's the development
Yeah, it's
thing.
its own
Yep.
show, but the point I was trying to make is that it has its own set of titles. It's its own show, and I think SmackDown, while there is some bleeding between the shows, I still view SmackDown and Raw as two effectively separate shows that have some cross promotion, but so
It should
one
have been.
match or one person.
It should have stayed two different shows,
Yeah.
but right now it's one show.
Yeah, it's one. I'm gonna have to count because even on WWE.com, they don't even list the roster separately by show anymore.
Really,
It's just one big. It's alphabetical. Click a letter. Here's the people.
I guess that makes sense since anyone from the roster can be on either show, but I still kind of view it separate because if you kind of see how they book the shows and stuff, there is still a division of roster. There is some bleed over, but there is still a very obvious division of roster. There's certain superstars that never show up on Raw, and there's certain superstars that never show up on SmackDown.
That's true, and I think that's mostly because they tour separately. The events are separately. They're in separate arenas, things like that. Well, Raw might be in Milwaukee, SmackDown might be in Seattle. You don't know, but the fact of the matter is, I think it works because I think the idea here would be, okay, here's the big WWE champion, and maybe someday, some weeks he might be at the Raw shows, some weeks he might be at the SmackDown shows, but the idea is they can then use these house shows to push the Intercontinental and U.S. title matches as being the super relevant titles of identifying each show, with the world champion being on both. I think that'll be kind of the idea they'll try to gravitate towards. And the point, going back to the point you made earlier about, there's going to be too many main eventers, it's not about, you have to realize, you seem to have forgotten the fact that part of being effective writers and bookers for pro wrestling is the ability to book storylines that do not involve a title.
Right. Well, the other thing I was going to say, too, is that a negative of having one title, two shows like that is, okay, let's say you have a storyline with Orton, he's the champion in the championship storyline, and then, he has to show up on Raw. Well, you're going to want to continue that, on SmackDown, you're going to want to continue that storyline on SmackDown. All of a sudden, that means not only does the champion have to work both shows, but all of a sudden, at least, one or two other people involved in that feud also have to work both shows. Because you can't just do the feud only on Raw when the champion represents both shows. You've got to have that feud permeate both shows, which means superstars are going to have to start working double shifts. That's going to be kind of bad.
Yep, it's going to wear them out, and it's also going to probably result in more injuries. Because the more you work, the more likely you are to get injured.
More injuries, more tired, more time off, yeah.
However, another positive on this would be the fact, for a while, at least for like the last few years, it's annoyed the crap out of me whenever we've had a Royal Rumble winner who's meant to win and earn a shot at the main event at WrestleMania. And let's say, I know it's been the World Heavyweight title defense, the person that's won it. It's not been the main event. It's been like the first match or something like that, which means at least the Royal Rumble will benefit from this because of that.
This is true. So will WrestleMania. Yeah, that's a very valid point. But anyway,
so will Money in the Bank, because it also means if there's one Money in the Bank champion, or if they do two, I don't know if they're still going to do two, but let's just assume they're going to do one Money in the Bank champion. You're more likely to see a surprise cash in, or you're going to get to see more of, will they, won't they cash in? True. Because it'll be on both shows now.
True, and the interesting part about that would be if they still choose to go with two briefcases. It could be an interesting match. Oh, is one going to cash in? Who's going to cash in when? Especially if they decide, okay, either they're both for the one world title, or if they go back to, okay, there's now two Money in the Bank winners who can both cash in on any champion they want. There could be cash-ins on Intercontinental and U.S. title, again, bringing more prominence and relevance to those titles.
That's the suggestion I made in one of the previous discussions, when I also said it'd be hilarious if they allowed them to cash in on any titles, because you can have them do that, or B, you could also have it where, say, like, I don't know, Alberto cashes in on Randy Orton, and it's like in a cheating way, and he wins. But then suddenly, Daniel Bryan, who's the other Money in the Bank winner, who's the face, runs out after that and cashes in fairly.
Oh, Del Rio, well, there you go. That'd be kind of entertaining.
Well, what they could do is they have one Money in the Bank match with a contract for the main title, and have the other one be a mid-card one, so you can highlight your mid-card talent. Because not only will mid-card talent who might not otherwise normally get a pay-per-view spot actually gets a pay-per-view spot, but then they could also potentially win the ability to cash in for the mid-card title.
Yep.
That could bring the mid-card title, Intercontinental title, back into prominence. If they do that, then they have to unify the Intercontinental and U.S. title.
or something else. Something I'd love to do if they did a second Money in the Bank briefcase. Don't make it the same as the first one. Like, how about a team Money in the Bank one where you can cash in on the tag team champions at any time, or a Divas one?
That'd be kind of cool.
A Divas one would be awesome if they actually had a Divas division.
Yeah, but this would help create a Divas division. But yeah, a tag team one would be crazy as fuck. Because instead of having like, I don't know, 8 men or 10 men, however many they tend to do for Money in the Bank, double it. That'd be fucking crazy.
Or, this would be kind of interesting. The people for the tag team one aren't actual like tag teams or anything. They're, X amount of superstars, however many earn Money in the Bank. The winner has in the briefcase a contract for the tag team title. The tag team title shot, but before they can use it, they must find a tag team partner.
That could be cool too. I can see that.
But you'll have the randomness of who's going to team with this guy, and you won't find out until he cashes in. Maybe
that could be kind of cool.
True.
But yeah.
But anyway, the other point I was gonna make earlier, we keep going on a tangent before I can make this point. You mentioned a point about it's gonna be a problem of too many main eventers and only one title to go around. Well, I counter with 2 arguments to that. Number one, let's look at WWE's main event right now. Really, who's in the main event right now? Cena, Orton, Punk and Bryan, sort of, because they're kind of in the tag team division right now, but they still kind of count. Sandow and Ziggler have unfortunately been shafted back down to the mid card.
Yeah, it's right now it would be Cena, Orton, Bryan, Punk, Big Show, Sheamus. They also tend to use either Brock Lesnar or Ryback, depending on what they're doing. They sometimes use them in that role.
True.
You got Del Rio can fill that role. Rey Mysterio can fill that role easily as fuck. I mean, it's Rey fucking Mysterio.
Yeah, if he can wrestle and not hurt himself.
Yeah, but there's a few others. I swear I'm missing a couple.
There's Christian if he ever decides to come back.
Yep.
There's let's see who else do they have? They have a lot of people. There's Orton. You forgot our actual champion.
Yep. There's also Kane and Undertaker.
Kane and Undertaker, yeah.
Undertaker's more unlikely due to the fact he mainly does WrestleMania now, but still Kane.
Right, but still, that's kind of what I think is, okay, that's true, there's a lot of guys, but number one, like I said, some of those guys, like the lower guys like Ziggler and Sandow, and some of those guys can feud over the Intercontinental title. And number two, the fact of the matter is, yes, but the thing is, they made this work in the past. I mean, think about, again, back during, the Attitude Era and eras before, where, okay, they might have had additional mid-card titles. Like, they might have had, 3 or 4 mid-card titles to go around, which made it easier. But still, think about, okay, they had one WWE title. They had, just off the top of my head, Austin, Rock, Mankind, Big Show, Triple H. Who the hell else was down there? Fucking Undertaker, Kane,
Jericho.
Jericho was down there. The fucking there's all these big names that we tend to think of as the top wrestlers. Fucking Shawn Michaels. All these guys. Shawn Michaels was a little before that, yeah, but
I was pointing out it would be worth pointing out when Shawn Michaels was main event, The Rock wasn't. Those two didn't really overlap as being main event.
Right, although I'd really like to see that match.
That was a matchup. I was like, damn it, it's a shame. Like back in I think it was The Rock that mentioned back in the day when he was first starting off. Shawn Michaels I don't think that kid's gonna go many places. I don't want to really wrestle him, which is a damn fucking shame because that match never happened with one of them being injured or one going off making films. I kind of wanted to see that match.
Yeah, but my point is there were 9 to 12 dudes that were considered main event during that too. The difference being that back then the writers had the capability of writing, okay, here's a title feud, but then here are 2 or 3 other feuds of main event dudes that don't involve the title and are just good storylines. You might have had you might have had a title feud going, you might have had a title feud going on with, let's say, off the top of my head, I don't know, maybe The Rock is the champion and he's having his, he had the corporation of feuding with Austin. But at the same time, you have DX over here having a feud with the freaking Nation of Domination over here. I mean, obviously those were not simultaneous. I'm just saying. they could book multiple storylines at once, and make it work. Like, okay, here's Undertaker and Kane are feuding over all their brotherly rivalry, but it doesn't involve the title. They were able to book good storylines back then, entertaining storylines that had prominence, that were well written, that could use these guys, and it didn't need to have a title. The problem is, in today's WWE, the writers, whether they're burnt out or they're just the guys they have now are not good, I don't know. But the problem is they've lost that ability to book a feud that doesn't center around a title, and that's a big part of the problem. Once in a while, they can pull it off. Like the original Rock Cena, they pulled it off, but even then they were like, well, we need to put the title in this now to make it bigger.
I would also say, there's more main eventers now than there was then.
Yes.
Because, like, some of them, like, I hate to say this because I really do like him, but, like, for example, Jericho. Jericho's only main event when Triple H was injured. The second Triple H came back, he took the belt off Jericho, and Jericho went back down to Intercontinental.
Mm-hmm. Right, but that's how it's working now too. Because look at it, when people weren't around and guys weren't around, look who moved up into the main event here and there. Ziggler, Sandow. Now are they? They're back in the mid card because the guys came back.
Yeah, that's why I didn't list them as the ones I was counting.
So, but yeah, I'm just saying there's a lot of guys, but a lot of them are just they're not present either right now. Big Show's been taken out of the picture with that fight, so he probably won't be back for a while if just to sell the storyline. So, the Cena Orton thing is going on right now. Punk and Bryan are in the tag team division. Sandow and Ziggler have been shafted from the main event picture. Christian and Rey Mysterio are unfortunately, and I hate to say this, pretty much useless because of their risk of getting injured. And Undertaker semi-retired. Kane is the freaking director of operations. You start going through the list and you realize there's a lot less guys than it seems like. I mean, you got Cena, Orton, Del Rio. You could bring Punk and Bryan in here and there, and you got
Sheamus.
Sheamus, yeah.
And Mark Henry.
And like I said, Mark Henry's kind of, again, he's he's one of those guys that can switch back and forth, which makes him very useful in that role. Mark Henry can main event or he can mid card, and he's effective either way.
Effective.
And again, he's more effective than Ryback, who's in the same role.
True.
Because you got Ryback doing that sort of thing too. So they have, like I said, they have their guys that are just main event guys. You might say are just main eventers. Cena, Orton, Del Rio, Cena, Orton, Del Rio, and Punk and Bryan are probably going to be main event no matter what you do. But then you have your guys like I said, Ziggler, Sandow. You have your Rybacks. You have your Big Shows. You have your your Mark Henrys, your Rey Mysterios. You have these guys who could very easily, because of their experience and because they're respected no matter what, they can easily transition and either be in the main event title feud, or they could be in secondary feuds that aren't as important, but they can still be good in those roles. And that's what's important, is that there's a lot of these guys, but the majority of those dudes don't have to be in the title picture to be effective. So they can easily be in either lower card feuds for the Intercontinental or U.S. titles, or they can try to write some good storylines that don't involve titles again and see where that goes.
They could do. The other negative thing to point out as well is we've got now, compared to back then as well, a lot more fucking hours of TV a week. Yeah. Each show needs to have the championship feud on it. You're going to be fucking sick of seeing the feud before the pay-per-view. Hell, I've had that with some of the feuds now when it was just on one show.
Yeah, and when the pay-per-view comes up, the championship match is going to be shit because the people in the feuds are going to be so fucking tired they won't be able to put on a good match.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why I feel like if they're going to do this, what they would have to do is they would have to they'd have to balance it out. Like maybe, okay, the champion is obviously going to be on like maybe one week the champion is on Raw, they do a big storyline bit. And then maybe on SmackDown, there's like a recorded promo or something happens, quote unquote, backstage. It was actually pre-recorded at Raw, and they air it that night. And it's okay. That's the backstage thing going on. They just have they one attacks the other backstage or something, or they have just a feud in a promo in an interview or something, and they go from there. And then maybe the next week, there's a thing. Maybe the next week on Raw, they don't, on Raw, they came out and they just cut a promo and don't really do anything else, and then they have an actual match on SmackDown. So they might have to appear on both shows, but you balance out what they're doing so they're not actually wrestling and killing themselves on every fucking show. And in some cases, by using via satellite, they don't necessarily have to be at every show.
Yeah, but the flip side of that would be, I'm sorry, if I go to buy a ticket for Raw or SmackDown or for the house shows, I want to know the champion's going to be there. Because, I don't know, let's say, for example, their parents taking their kids to see, I don't know, Cena or Bryan or someone like that. It's a case of the kids who want to go see Cena and Bryan and Punk and stuff like that, or whoever they want to go see, whichever big face they want to go see. There's no guarantee that guy's going to be on the show. They're going to have wasted time, and the kid's going to be fucking pissed. The attendance to the shows could drop if they did it that way, because people aren't going to bother buying a ticket if you don't know who the fuck's going to be there that week.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like a lottery of, okay, if I buy this ticket, will my favorite guy actually be there, or is he not going to be there because he sees my show as unworthy this week?
Mm-hmm. This is true, but that's also why when those house shows are happening, they advertise the guys that are going to be at them, so you know who's going to be there.
They do, but I was talking about like the shows like Raw and SmackDown, normal ones, because like the house shows, for example, I've been to a load of the house shows when they've been over here. Like I went to one with Crispy, I went to one with my brother, I've gone to one with other people before now. Every time I go to them, it's cool because you get to see the champion in a unique matchup, which is cool, and it's not shown on TV. If you remove that and it's all mid-carders, it's like, I'm buying tickets to just go see fucking mid-carders. There's no real value here.
Yeah. Well, it depends, because it's not necessarily. It depends again on your definition of a mid-carder. Let's say Cena and Orton are feuding over the title, and let's say there's going to be a house show. Okay, maybe you're not going to get Cena Orton at that, but your main event could be, it could be CM Punk versus Daniel Bryan or something. So you don't necessarily have to have the title to have a good main event.
Yeah, but the title defines what the main event of that month's going to be. The title is the main event.
Yep, and the champion.
And I find that to be one of the biggest problems.
No, that's the way the nature of the business has always been. The championship should be what you want to see the most, because the championship is what everyone wants to strive for. It's what everyone wants to have. Therefore, having that, whoever's champion, you should want to see whatever feud they're doing the most, because that is the main event of the pay-per-view, which means that is the main feud of the month. It should be anyway, unless there's a special thing like The Rock's come out of retirement or Brock's back and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yep, that's why there's this whole big deal in K-pop about the face of the company, because the face of the company is the WWE champion, and the face of the company is the face of the company because he sells tickets, he puts asses in seats and sells merchandise. If the face of the company isn't at the house show, there ain't going to be no asses in those seats because people come to see the champ.
Yep. It's like, let's say they did that idea back in the day with the different shows and stuff like that. It's like, I know Richter likes him. I may not like him, but I know Richter does, which is cool. Let's say back in the day, Richter went to see a house show. At the time, based on who was the champion the most in the Attitude Era, there was a damn good chance his favourite wrestler of Stone Cold was not going to appear that night. Or same thing with you. If you bought a ticket to a house show, like, yes, I'm going to get to see Undisputed Champion Jericho. Oh, okay, he's over in another city.
Yep. Yep, there is that potential to lose revenue, to lose, well, asses and seats. And the question is, will they be able to balance it? And as who was it? Was it Jim that brought it up? Or was it Mole? One of you guys brought up that with all these people, it's going to be hard to keep people healthy and stuff, and it's going to be hard to have who you need to have at every show.
Yep.
That's the biggest drawback to unifying titles.
I'm just looking at this, and yeah, just looking at the live show schedules, yeah, there's a lot of live shows, but like I said, not all of them have everybody at them. For example, like I said, there's a WWE Live Holiday Tour going on, and yes, for the first of that holiday tour, for the first show, it's a big MSG show. Yeah, Cena and Orton are at that show, but the next show is in Chicago, Illinois. It's the Allstate Arena. Guess who's headlining that one?
Yeah, but go back a month. Look, he was headlining a couple of months back. The SmackDown one was headlined by the World Heavyweight Title Champion, and the other show was headlined by the Raw Champion.
I said most of the holiday tour shows are being headlined by CM Punk and Daniel Bryan, and then The Shield. Cena and Orton are not going to be. That's why they can, they can have these effective house shows without necessarily having the main title feud there.
Yeah, but the ones coming up are the ones that since the unification. But
and chances are the champion will be there. They just didn't promote it because they didn't want to give away who was going to win the title.
Is that too?
Because that would be huge spoilers of saying, yes, the champion will be there. Orton and Cena. It's like, wait. Or, or Orton's going to be there. Yes, he will. Like, wait, he won the title?
Yep. But did you want to talk about the unifications of the past then, Jim?
Well, really, the idea of the unifications, in comparison to the current unification, obviously, this is being pushed as the biggest match of all time, or was being pushed as the biggest match of all time, and it's this big unification TLC match. And it's worth noting that there have been a lot of relevant unifications in the past, and they've all had different and distinct effects on the various promotions that were involved in these unifications, including everything from, now there's, just less champions, to 3 complete wrestling organizations collapsing in on themselves.
Yep.
So, obviously, the obvious comparison is, of course, going back to 2001 when Chris Jericho beat The Rock and Stone Cold on the same night to become the first ever undisputed champion.
Yep.
Which, ironically, was for these 2 very belts.
It was.
Except that at the time, one of them was the WCW World title.
Yep. Although it's also worth pointing out as well, with some of the unifications, some of them have been bad. Some of them have been bad for, quote, bad for business, or whatever you want to call it. Like, I'm sorry, the second they merged the 2 women's titles, the Divas division effectively collapsed. Same thing with the tag team division. Same thing when they merged the Cruiserweight and the Light Heavyweight Championship together. Boom! That one pretty much disappeared fast as fuck. A few times they've merged them, they've killed the divisions. That won't happen with this one, though. But
well, obviously, yeah. But
but
that's a valid
That'd
point.
Be hilarious if it did. It's like, we have one champion. Boom! There goes the main event cards. We no longer have a main event division, folks. No.
Oh dear.
Tune in for Total Superstars.
Yeah. Pretty much.
This week, watch Kane reunite with his long-lost brother Mark.
Oh, no, I kind of want to see that.
Oh, God.
Christmas at the Taker's house.
Yeah.
The Undertaker's symbol on top of the Christmas tree.
Yeah.
That'd be fucking awesome.
Wait, do you want me to light the candles? I'm Jewish. You are? Yeah, okay, I'll light them. Nope. Stand back, brother. I've got this. Arms up, arms down. Doom. The Hanukkah lights light up.
Here you go, honey. I'm sure as always my turkey's flawless.
Nice.
Anyway, so yeah, obviously some unifications can be quote unquote bad for business depending on the circumstances surrounding unifications and why they occurred. In the case of the big undisputed championship unification, I can understand why they did it because obviously the WCW world title had effectively lost all credibility with the lack of WCW.
Yep.
So that was kind of necessary, but it really didn't mean shit because how long was it before Triple H got handed a title?
True. And I was going to say, yes, unifications can be bad. Just ask Jerry the King Lawler.
Yep.
Yeah.
And with the ones we're like this one, I feel it's laziness on the writer's part with the last unification. The one that just happened at TLC.
A little bit, yeah.
Because it's like, okay, you've effectively killed SmackDown. Every time writers start to write well for that, you move them to Raw. Every time a superstar's good, you move them to Raw because SmackDown's not live. Therefore, you've done the wrong thing with this because that's just almost the final nail. What you should have done is move SmackDown and make it live, and then concentrate on making both shows good.
Mm-hmm.
That's all well and good, except that they can't make Raw good.
Yeah.
Nope. Raw's not been good for weeks.
Yeah. Combined with the problem of to make SmackDown live, they'd have to actually film it on Thursdays, which require changing the entire tour schedule and lineup of guys. and also getting the I guess technically it'd be the same air slot. It wouldn't matter to the network much, but they'd also have to get approval from the network. Hey, we're going to air this live. They'd have to have a time delay. It'd be a whole big to do.
Well, they'd have to renegotiate with the network and sign a new contract, basically.
Yeah. I was thinking when the contract was up, go to I think it's Sci-Fi currently.
Yeah.
Or whoever it is, and negotiate with them, because hell, it's one of Sci-Fi's biggest rated shows, and Sci-Fi's done this in the past. You could easily do a live show on just make it Tuesday when they normally film it. Make it Tuesday, so Monday Raw, Tuesday that, and you can just show a replay on Thursday or whatever. But you'd still have that element of people going to tune in on Tuesday because they don't know what the fuck's going to happen. Because every time that they've gone live with SmackDown, it's been higher rated than when it was taped.
Fair enough. But I think there's also another reason for that. Because when they go live with SmackDown, it's on Tuesday, which is the night people actually are able to watch the damn show. Nobody watches TV on Friday goddamn night.
That's good, because it's on a Thursday night.
No, it's Friday Night SmackDown.
Yeah, you said they'd have to change it to Thursday, because that's when SmackDown used to be.
I know, I got to confuse in my head, but because nobody watches TV on Friday nights, which is part of the reason why SmackDown's ratings aren't necessarily that good. I think if they moved it back to Thursday, or a night that people were, not out partying all night or going out to dinner or whatever, and were home to watch TV, they'd get much higher ratings again.
What do you mean SmackDown's ratings aren't that good? I thought Mole just said it's Sci-Fi's highest rated show.
Yes, but look at the ratings of Sci-Fi's other shows.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, but it's still doing well for what it is.
Yeah,
but the Friday night slot is kind of bad, but at the same time, there's people watching shows on Friday. Hell, I know for a fact, like over here, and it's been the same there. There's been some pretty damn big shows there only on Friday.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's also a unfortunate trope within the television community that basically getting a time slot on Friday night is basically the nail in your show's coffin, where you basically accept that your show is over.
I will say one big problem with going live with SmackDown, especially if you make it Tuesday, is trying to get your talent from wherever Raw is to wherever SmackDown is going to be.
Yeah, that's why.
Because lest we forget, it's all one roster now. So some of the talent on Raw is gonna have to fly from Raw to SmackDown on like a red-eye flight.
I was aware. That's why I was saying instead of unifying everything and getting rid of the brand split, that's what they should have done.
Mm-hmm.
They should have made the two shows. They should have kept the brand split, and they should have made it so both shows felt different.
And in all fairness, WWE could solve that problem very easily. One tour group booked the arena for 2 nights.
Yep, that's why the way it used to be back when SmackDown was a lot better than Raw, like with the SmackDown group with like Batista and Eddie Guerrero and shit like that all on one show. It was basically a case of SmackDown was the show you tuned into to watch wrestling. Raw was the show you tuned into to watch the casual promos and fluff, basically.
Mm-hmm. Cruelly ironic, because for those of us who have watched wrestling long enough or have done enough research on it, we're all fully aware that when SmackDown was first initially conceived, it was conceived as a diva show.
Yep, but when it first aired, it wasn't a diva show.
Nope.
Which that's all that matters.
It was the Rock show.
Mm-hmm. No, it was the People's show.
Yep, but we'll go on to that more when we do brand split.
Indeed, but yes, there's certainly positives and negatives to unification. I said obviously a lot
One
of
the big negatives to unifications is the title that you get from the unification. Sometimes, the previous ones were better. Cough, tag team titles, cough.
True. But in all fairness, really, did you expect them to make a nice title when, this big ass, they've had these split brands for like what? They had 8 years, 9 years of these split titles, and they unified them in a dark match.
Fair enough. Well, if going by that route, they shouldn't have made a new title at all. They should have just used one of the existing ones, which would have been better than making the new one.
Yes, they probably should have, but WWE likes making new titles.
Yep. Also, though, the tag team titles were, to their credit, they were created at a time when WWE didn't know what the focus was going to be, because there was rumors around then of making a new world titles and stuff like that. They didn't go ahead, but because let's face it, before that, like the Divas title, when they made that, as much as I hate the Divas title, it matched the Spinner title. the tag team title, they didn't know what it was going to match, so they went with a generic looking the plate. It looks basically like someone's taken a giant penny and stuck it to a belt.
Pretty much.
Ironically, that design I could see working for like a world title, but not a tag title.
See, the belt design itself, I'd like it more if it was gold instead of bronze. The bronze makes it look hideous.
Yeah.
Makes it look like a penny.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, you have to realize WWE in the past has always shown that they like to rank the importance of their titles by the medals used in them.
They'll make it silver then.
They need a tag team of twins and make them have a two-faced gimmick. One's the evil one with the scratched out penny, and one's the good one with the good penny.
Ah, that'd be funny. But yeah, they've done that before. Okay, the tag team titles don't matter. They were bronze. The ECW championship, nobody gives a shit about that. That's silver. Nobody's ever gonna cash in a Royal Rumble or Money in the Bank on that shit.
That was supposed to be platinum.
I know.
And I thought it was that color because the ECW title was that color.
No, the ECW title was gold, and it had the purple ECW logo and a blue and green world on it.
Yep.
Clearly, you've never used it the past 5 video games it's been included in.
No, I haven't.
Why would he? They don't include an ECW arena.
True.
Exactly.
Well, technically, they had December to Dismember in one of them.
Yes, but anyway, back to
Yes. So
unification.
back to the unifications. Yeah. There's also a lot of the unifications that happened in the past. Things like when a lot of the this could be debated whether this is good or bad. After the invasion storyline, when let's see, off the top of my head here, let's see. Okay, one.
It's not off the top of your head if you're counting it off a list.
I know. Let's see.
Just stop counting it off the list.
No, that wasn't the problem. My problem was when he goes, off the top of my head, when we can hear him reading. Don't lie to our audience.
Fair enough. When they effectively
Yes,
combine...
our boss lies, people.
Yes, I lie. When they combine, it looks like 3 titles... Well, technically a total of 4 titles into 1 title. When they just had it, and they, over the course of a year or so, combined the WCW United States title, the WWE European title, and the WWE Hardcore title all into the Intercontinental title, which was then itself unified with the World Heavyweight title.
Yep. Which is kind of silly.
Yeah, that was kind of because I know some of those were good belts, and I understand. Well, okay, there's too many belts, and we want to kind of condense this down, but that just got a little ridiculous.
Yeah, I can understand the US and Intercontinental. I can understand the Cruiserweight and Light Heavyweight if they kept it as a division. But doing it the way they did, it was like, eh.
Yep.
Yep, I also disagree with the dissolution of the Cruiserweight division.
Yes. And let us not forget the so brief split and reintroduction and then quick reunification of the WWE and ECW championships.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But the Cruiserweight one, like I said, yeah, I hated losing the Cruiserweight division. However, I think the reason WWE did that is WWE didn't really have a Cruiserweight division.
Mm.
It was WCW that had the good Cruiserweight division, but still, I liked having the Light Heavyweights have a title. It was kind of cool.
Yeah.
It was.
Well, it gave you something to do with a lot of your lower mid-carders or mid-carders that had nothing else to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it allowed you to take your mid-carders who, okay, maybe they weren't quite in terms of weight class like a light heavyweight or cruiserweight, but in terms of athletic ability, they could do that stuff. So, and they look light enough. Okay, let's put them in there.
Yeah, see, that's when I didn't like the division. I liked it when it was like I said, like the WCW one where it was like, okay, this is the Cruiserweight division, and it was all really light heavyweight people going out there and just putting on a fucking like clinic in the middle of the ring, like bouncing off everything. It was fucking awesome.
One of the problems was that WWE started mandating that everybody wrestle the same way, and it wasn't cruiserweight style. Like, take for instance now where, like, Sin Cara. Sin Cara's a luchador. That is the light heavyweight cruiserweight style of wrestling. But because that's not the WWE style of wrestling, Sin Cara couldn't hang. So therefore he's getting deported.
Yep, and well, the actor playing him got the purported, or the wrestler
Mystic.
playing him. Sin Cara's still going to be on there, played by who the fuck is it now?
Hunico.
Yeah, but he's no longer going to
Yeah.
really be a luchador. He's going to be a bastardized WWE luchador.
Yeah, and isn't it ironic with it being Hunico? Wasn't he the Dark Sin Cara?
Yes.
Yes.
The one
He
that was
the
the one that botched shitloads of stuff to the point where he had to restart a match 3 fucking times
Yes.
in one night. So yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but he didn't injure himself, so therefore, even if he fucks everything up, they can at least use him every night.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'd rather have someone that went out there, tried, got injured, as opposed to went out there and had to have us reshoot a matchup 3 times, and they only got away with it because it was a taped show. If you did that shit on Raw, yeah,
Yeah.
that's gonna look
That's why
horrible.
you're not Vince McMahon.
Pretty much. And let's not forget talking about the cruiserweight division for a second there. And yeah, they put some guys in there that were in there because they weren't necessarily, not everyone to cruiserweights, but in terms of looking the part, let's not forget looks can be deceiving because Crash Holly weighed well over 400 pounds.
Yes, he did.
Anyway, so and let's not forget that it's not just the big name televised companies that do these type of unifications too. Because in 06, even ROH, Ring of Honor, had a unification of their World Championship with the ROH Pure Championship, whatever the hell that was. When Pure Champion Nigel McGuinness lost to the then unified World Champion Bryan Danielson.
Yep, and TNA currently has a unified title.
Yeah,
See, title unifications are a good idea, then they work if you have a reason for it, a good reason for it, i.e., too many titles, let's cut them down. Okay, fair enough. Also, you have to do it right. If your execution sucks, then the title unification could end up, destroying your company. Cough, Jerry Lawler, cough.
Yep.
Because that title unification, which I'll let Jim speak about because he knows more about that than I do, it was to unify a bunch of different companies together. It was a good idea, but that execution had more egos than Triple H on a good day.
Yep.
And therefore, it destroyed multiple companies in one night.
Yes, effectively what happened was the idea was that a group of 4 companies wanted to unite themselves so that they would have something large enough that they could go against Vince McMahon's WWF. I'm not sure if he dropped the first W then or not, or the second W rather. But anyway, and so effectively the 4 companies came together. I don't have the names of them all in front of me, but it was the after several unification matches that had already occurred, the match that we ended up with at Super Clash 3 was the AWA World Heavyweight Champion Jerry the King Lawler defending against the WCWA World Heavyweight Champion Kerry Von Erich. Unfortunately, there was tremendous disagreement on all parts from all these companies as to how it should be booked and who was going to do what and who was going to look strong and who wasn't. And what ended up happening was it was just so screwed the hell up, and it looked like such crap that 3 of those companies ended up folding shortly thereafter. The only reason the final company survived being that Jerry Lawler bought it. And even then, the other, even the title that Jerry Lawler had won was quickly abandoned and switched over and whatever. So it wasn't pretty.
Yep. But to be fair, that was not going to be a good idea. 4 championships representing 4 different companies, all owned by different people, trying to merge it into one. Yeah, each one of them's going to want their champion to seem more important and their belt to seem more important because that's what they've built up.
Yes, of course.
That seems stupid.
That's why, if you do it right, you don't keep any one of the championships. You create a new one to basically represent the new brand. If you're going to do something like that. The problem was that they wanted to keep one of the belts, and that's when the egos exploded.
Yeah.
Because you can't keep one of the belts and not expect everyone else to say, what the fuck, why does that belt get top billing? But if you're like, we're going to retire all the belts, we're going to bring up a new belt to represent our new organization to take on Vincent Kennedy McMahon, then yeah, people might be more on board. The egos wouldn't necessarily flare because it's like, okay, we're all one company now. Then to show that unification of brand, new belt.
Yep, but you also have the thing of They want their superstars to look better because it's their superstars, which it was just asking for trouble.
It really was.
True.
It'd be like asking Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo to work together on one game with characters from all three unique exclusive systems. Yeah, that just collapsed faster.
Yeah, actually, there's actually 5 promotions, 4 of which collapsed. Because Vern Gage was behind it, and he was going to unite the AWA, World Class Wrestling, Memphis Wrestling, Glow, and the CWF, and they were going to rise to challenge Vince, but it didn't work out because Vince quoted, it's actually on the WWE DVD about the death of the AWA, if you'd like to learn more, in which Vince quoted that the promoters involved, quote, couldn't agree on ordering a cup of coffee, end quote. So in the end, they got Lawler as the one title, Von Erich as the other. And apparently, and that was the other aspect that made this match just so wonderful, because Kerry Von Erich pulled a Jeff Hardy.
Oh?
Kerry showed up, to put it politely, with some major chemical imbalances, and immediately slashed his own arm open with his blade while taking his robe off.
Okay, then.
The match itself was apparently good, but with a bullshit finish where Von Erich was in control, but the ref stopped the match because of his excessive bleeding. But then after this, it was crazy because Gage never actually paid Lawler for the pay-per-view and found himself without a champion because Lawler quit in protest. Then they had no champions. Then they ununified the AWA title. Lawler then bought World Class, renamed it USWA instead, and all the other promotions died months later.
Yep.
And that is what unifications can lead to, ladies and gentlemen. Luckily, that's not happening here because, luckily, WWE is just WWE, but either way. So, bringing it back around, we now have one unified WWE World Heavyweight Champion. His name is Randy Orton. He is the face of the company and of the authority. What do we think? Good thing, bad thing? Where's this going?
I'm going to say bad thing. Bad thing for the negatives I listed before. Bad things, I really didn't like the ending of the match. And bad things, that means, yay, the authority is going to be in charge of both shows. Which means, yeah, I'm probably not going to be watching most weeks.
Technically, weren't they already charging both shows? Because didn't they bring out both Vicky Guerrero and, what the fuck's his name? Brad Maddox, and make them both their bitches publicly on Raw?
I meant in terms of being the focus of the storylines.
Fair enough.
Because, yeah, the storylines right now, it leads to stuff like the last few Raws, which have been fucking horrible. It's like, hence why I don't watch them live anymore.
Fair enough.
Which means it's going to be the same shit as usual.
Yep. Basically.
Pretty much.
For all intents and purposes.
But that was my opinion anyway. I don't know about you guys.
Marcus, what's your opinion? Is unification good thing, bad thing? What do you think?
I think the unification itself is probably a bad thing for the reasons I listed. I mean, I can see the positives in it, but I think the negatives outweigh the positives. The fact that Orton was the one that won, I'm happy about that. I'm sorry, I don't like John Cena. I think, and I'm glad he's been losing more recently, so yay for that. Just he's stale, he's stagnant. And that's not saying that Orton is that much better, but at least he's not Cena. He's not as bad as Cena, in my opinion.
Yeah, and like I said to you beforehand, it's not the fact Cena lost, because I don't like Cena. It was just the way he lost. It was the same type of stuff of the way he lost with the handcuffs and all the other stuff. Whenever Cena pulls that shit, we were all over him. I feel hypocritical if I'm not all over Orton for doing the same thing.
Fair enough. I can understand us feeling that way. It does make sense.
Yeah, like I said, out of the two of them, Orton is the better champion.
Mm-hmm.
It was just the ending of the matchup I didn't like.
I was just glad we didn't get the ending that I had called. I thought Triple H was just going to put the unified belt on himself.
Nope.
All right, well,
also, I want what they did in this match. I want that in a game. I don't know why that hasn't been in a game yet.
You'll have to elaborate.
Where Cena was dangling off the titles, he held the titles. He was grabbing onto it, and Orton picked up a chair and whacked him across the back with it, knocking him off the titles.
Ouch.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, I want that in the game. Yeah, spearing him off is kind of cool. Grabbing him and power bombing is kind of cool. I want to be able to like pick up a guitar and whack him across the back to knock him down.
Right.
That'd
Yep.
be cool.
Or just punch him.
Yeah, one or the
Yeah.
other. Something.
Anyway, go ahead.
So yeah, so this unification, it'll be interesting to see where WWE proceeds with this. If they can successfully, because I personally I think it's a positive, only because it's been very obvious to me that the World Heavyweight title has been a joke for a very long time now, and if they're only going to book one title decently anyway, at least have one world title. If they're going to have that secondary title that they're booking with some secondary guys, you know, you're going to have Christian on it. Del Rio is barely main event anymore. I'm sorry to say. These different guys, that's intercontinental feud right there, and that can really bring some good credibility, especially if Punk and Bryan get in some of those feuds, to bring some credibility back to that intercontinental title, which is something that's been badly needed. I mean, Cody was doing his best; he was doing a good job, but it's got to get brought the rest of the way.
See, I always looked at that. I always looked at that differently. I always looked at it as, like music, where you have like rock and then you have like alternative rock. I always looked at it like that. Like WWE champion was champion. World Heavyweight Champion was your alternative champion. WWE Champion would be your guys like your Cenas, your Ortons, all the guys that always get the same types of pushes and the genericness. The World Heavyweight title should be for guys like Christian and people out that you feel as fans should be World Champion, but they're not quite. Well, they're never going to be WWE. They're the alternative champion. They're the ones like the internet fans.
Skill.
I mean, the ones internet fans would cheer for. So it's like, yeah, one's the alternative one's the pro. Like, CM Punk now would be under the WWE title, but CM Punk, when he first won it, would have been World Heavyweight Champion. Hence, that's why one of the first ones he won it for.
Mm-hmm.
Which means it's not necessarily people with skill, but it's the ones that aren't necessarily the big shove down our throat people.
Mm.
True.
Like Bryan before the Authority storyline and stuff like that. Bryan before that would have been World Heavyweight Championship, but now he's being booked like Cena. He's been shoved down our throat. WWE title.
Fair enough. So, with that, we'll see exactly what's going to develop here. If they can effectively book one world title with all these guys, if they can write some good non-title feuds, if the Intercontinental or U.S. title gains more prominence and better feuds, if we start to care about those titles again, and just generally the future of the company. And it's going to be interesting to see where we go here. I do have
to say, speaking of unifications, they desperately need to unify the U.S. and Intercontinental titles. I'm sorry, the U.S. title hasn't been relevant for like at least 5 years. It's fucking dead. I mean, it's on Ambrose, and what's he done with it? Fuck all.
Well, that's
put the U.S. title out of its misery and bring the Intercontinental title back to prominence. That's what they need to do.
Well, I think it's a good thing having both, because if you're already removed a world title, you still got that glutton of dudes. I think having the one world title and two main event titles is a good way to go, because with all these other guys that are not in the main event title, you can book these guys in feuds and stuff involving these two secondary titles and bring them both back to prominence as relevant titles, because they both have very, very long running histories. Very long.
They do, but whether or not they're still credible is up in ashes or up in smoke, whatever you want to call it. Because, for example, who is the United States champion right now?
Dean Ambrose.
Yeah, he lost a 3-on-1 handicap match at Survivor Series. A 3-on-1 match. And the US champion couldn't even get a match won.
Touche. But that's why I'm hoping
the Intercontinental champion won, so yeah.
What was that?
Then the Intercontinental champion won his match at TLC.
He did.
That's why I'm hoping with this new, lack of guys in a title feud because of that other title, those guys will go and start being the guys carrying these two lower titles, and will start to make them relevant again.
Yeah, but that'll be bad.
Why?
If you have guys like Sheamus or Big Show or the people are the main eventers holding the Intercontinental and US Championship, then the people those belts are meant for, like your Cody Rhodes and the lower down people, they're not going to fucking get their title.
Well, I would hope that would bring someone like Cody Rhodes to the equivalent level of someone like a Sandow or a Ziggler or a Del Rio, who would be in a position for those feuds and could then easily move up to the main event when ready. I would hope that would... I I think it'll be more like it wouldn't necessarily. I think it would lower. It might lower some guys to where Cody is, but Cody would not get lowered by default. Cody would remain at that level with them, I think.
See, I could see that people like that getting lowered because if Vince is booking a matchup for the title and he knows these people are in the division, he's gonna book like Ryback v Mark Henry or Ryback Big Show before he books something like Cody Rhodes versus Damian Sandow.
Yep.
True.
Which that's gonna be sad.
It is, but well, we'll see. They may pull the rabbit out of their ass and make this all good. We don't know. It's the unknown future of the WWE. We'll see where it leads us.
Yeah, they could do it. Right? WWE, their ability to do anything good in the last year is no.
Year? Try the last 5 years.
I say last year because in the return of The Rock, even at the beginning of the year when he won the WWE title, even though some people would argue he shouldn't have, it was still enjoyable. We got to see The Rock back. That was the last thing that was enjoyable.
The Rock coming back was the one good thing WWE's done in the last 5 years.
Fair
I'm
enough.
sorry, it's true.
And Shawn Michaels Undertaker, that was awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was one of the best matches of all time.
It was. The first one.
The first one and the second one, because the first one was a better match, but the second one it was still a great match, but had better storytelling because of the ending and stuff.
True.
Yep, and it had great entrances.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So with that, this has been a discussion of title unifications. What titles, did you agree or disagree should or should not have been unified when they were? What titles do you think should be unified now? Should titles be ununified and brought back? Let us know in the comments. Talk to us. Maybe we'll discuss it on a future episode. You never know. With that, thank you, Chriz the Mole and Marcus Shadow, for joining me.
The pleasure was all yours.
You're welcome, and ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned next week where we discuss copycatting with a special guest host. Good night, everyone.
Yep.
That's
And
right.
speaking of copycatting, join us the week afterwards, in which Showtime and Rise from the Airwaves combine into Rise from Time.
Huh?
We're not unifying shows.
If we're going to unify any show, it's going to be the Comic Zone and the Gaming Zone.
Into the Zone.
Mm-hmm.
Into the comic game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh boy. This has been WXR. I'm